important really is for us to understand the influence that social media has in our lives and how we can use it as an amazing tool to do amazing things. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the man.
Thank you so much. Okay, I just want to just got to double check that all of you are on Instagram and like you use social media and everything, because there are a lot of things I'm going to reference. It's going to be very interactive. As much as there is a full list of things I'm going to speak about, it's very interactive. Okay, so I'm going to start with my story so you have context behind everything I'm going to share with you. So I'll start in 2018. I was working in a social media agency. I just started in social media and I was very interested in what it was about. So I worked at an agency and I didn't feel really fulfilled because the work I was doing, I was literally, you know how brand work, it's like if there's a dog food company, we'd find a picture of a dog, slap a logo on it, tell everyone, this is great dog food. And that sounds like, this is boring. But at that same time, there was a big boom in travel video making. I don't know if any of you are familiar with like Sam Calder and like Bryn North and all those creators. So they were traveling around the world and they were documenting their travels and it looked amazing. So I was sitting at my desk every day on like YouTube in the middle of like tasks, flipping between the work I'm supposed to be doing and like watching YouTube tutorials. And I was like, this is the stuff I want to do. I want to travel the world and tell stories. But I'm sitting in a job that's like not making me feel alive. So for the longest time, I was playing with the idea of, should I go into this? Should I stay where I am? And then my mom passed away. So I was sitting at my desk and I got a WhatsApp from her and it said, please help, I'm dying. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what do you mean? So confused. So I tried to phone her, she wasn't answering. So I was like, okay, this is crazy. And I was working in Sandton, so it's 4 p.m. You know the traffic getting out of, okay, Cape Townians might not know, if you're familiar with Joburg, the traffic getting out of Sandton at that time is crazy. So I'm sitting in traffic driving, can't get hold of my mother, and she said she's dying. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Eventually get to the house and she had had a heart attack. So as we're taking her out of the house, we had to walk through the kitchen to go out. There was a frozen chicken that she had left to thaw. Like she thought she was gonna come back later to cook the chicken. She passed away, she didn't get to cook that chicken. But that stuck in my mind, that memory of when I went past there. Like there was something that she had put out there where she was like, tomorrow I'm gonna do it. So if there's something that I wanna do, I have to do it today. Next day, let me not lie, a week later, I went to the office and I was like, listen, I'm quitting my job, I'm gonna go travel the world. Mind you, I hadn't shot anything before, I didn't have any idea of how any of this works, but I was like, that's the dream I want, that's the thing I wanna do, I'm gonna figure it out. Then the universe created this competition. There's a company called Busabout. They're kind of like Kontiki. They do tours around the world, like, you know, these 7-day tours like in Asia and all that stuff. So they had a competition where you could win a 6-week trip where you'd be a videographer on their trips. And I was like, I need to enter that. That's what I'm gonna do. So I got my friends around me to help me shoot the video and all that stuff to create it. And eventually I won the competition. So after quitting my job, a month later, here was my next opportunity. Like, okay, here's your chance. This is the dream you wanted. Let's go for it. So from then, I traveled the world. I went to Southeast Asia for 6 weeks. So if you look at that little image, that's one of the images at one of the, there's like a lot of temples and mosques and all that stuff in Southeast Asia. So this was one of them. And obviously being a black person, taller black person with a camera and everything, all of them wanted to take pictures with me. Like I have tons of pictures with all like the monks and the Buddhist guys just wanting to take pictures with me. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is the life I want to live. I'm famous. I'm doing what I want to do. Then reality set in. Can you please go to the first slide? Okay. So reality set in. I'd been creating that content. There was the attention out there. Everyone was like, oh, you're doing amazing stuff. This is who you are, blah, blah, blah. I'm living the dream and all that. And it made me realize that the way people view you now is very differently from how people were viewed before. So before social media, the only way anyone would know you is based on a piece of paper that you write and you said, I went to this school, I did this thing, I did this thing, I did this thing. Now you guys would realize the problem with that is when you leave here, if you don't have like a portfolio or a show reel or anything, everyone's judging you all based on that paper. That's all you have, and that's your competition, paper versus paper. what the internet has allowed us to do is now you have a digital resume. So a lot of times, even most of us, when you find a new restaurant or looking for a new restaurant, you go to Instagram or TikTok. That's the recommendation. You don't really care what they say about the restaurant. You're like, no, I want to see a video. I want to see what it actually looks like and what everyone else's compared to different places looks like, right? So that's your digital resume. So I'm just planting these things here so you understand the references to things, right? Next one, please. Right, so in saying that, at that time when I started on my journey was when a later part of the internet. So initially the internet was a read-only version, right? Older ones, older people, before social media and all that, you understood that when you saw the internet, there was a version of the internet that you could not affect. You just read what's on the internet, it's what it is. Then later on, we got to Web 2, which is when now you have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. So now you're able to interact with the internet. So now you're not just a consumer of the internet, you can actually take part in the internet. So that's when influencers and creators now were born. So back in the days before social media and all that, if you wanted to be a film director, an actor, all that, you needed to rely on one big studio to hire you to do the job. But there's only one big studio, and there's tons of you, right? What Web 2 has allowed is now you can put your videos on YouTube. You want to be a film director? Put your work on YouTube. You want to be a fashion designer? Can go design your own things. You want to be an actor? Post your own work, right? Now you're actively engaging with the internet. So that changed the game. Next slide, please. So with that change, means now you're able to pursue your own dreams, right? Wanting to be an actor is not now just sitting hoping that a casting director sees you and hires you. Now you can actively be pitching your work. You can put your work out there to be like, hey, Netflix, here's a movie I shot. Look at my movie on YouTube, and you could get a job from that. You could get work based on that because now you're actively able to put that out there. So I tested that theory unknowingly, but as you heard through my story, I've always had this really strong sense of self-belief. Even when the skills weren't there, I always just believed that if you apply yourself enough and you have enough strong conviction for that dream, that you can get there, right? So I was scrolling on Twitter one day, that top left, top right, actually, it's not the same for you. I was scrolling on Twitter one day and I saw a travel video. There was an agency that did a video and they had won an award for their video. It was like, and I was like, whoa, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. I also want to win awards. So I saw that and it made me believe, like, wait, if they were able to win an award, maybe I could also be an award-winning filmmaker. So I was like, let me do a test, real self-belief. On that day, 2020, 19th of May, I tweeted the association and I said, in a year, you guys will be sending me a congratulatory email because I'm going to win a film award. This is what I'm going to do. And then, boom, COVID happened. Places closed. Now, because my filmmaking was mainly focused on travel, it made it difficult now to actually make a film. I can't go anywhere to shoot. I'm like, I set this target that in a year I need to win an award. What's going to happen? I was like, it doesn't matter. Still sat on YouTube, carried on watching tutorials, doing things like figuring out how to shoot, how to do these things, just actively keeping active, right? You know the saying, your preparation meeting the opportunity. So I carried on doing that. Then a friend of mine, I didn't even know, had family in Malawi. Malawi was the first country that allowed South Africa to travel. Lucky for us, it's close enough. Middle of December, with the submissions for these awards closing at the beginning of January, I had to make a plan. I was like, yo, I need to get to Malawi. Somehow I need to make a film. I need to do something. So I went to Malawi, spent 3 days there shooting. One day, like food. Another day I was shooting the transportation. A different day I was shooting like cultural things. Put it all together. Spent New Year's Day editing that video. Put it together, 12 minutes long, submitted it. And a year later, they literally tweeted me and sent me my award. Congratulations for the award. So you see that picture there? I actually won the award that I had set my intention on, right? Then at the bottom there, oh, thank you. It's a little late. I mean, it was 2020, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you. So in that same vein, I was like, okay, I've won the award now, but there's still more to it. Like, that can't be it. Like, it can't be, okay, I've won an award, now I can quit. Thank you, wrapped up, done. So I carried on doing my work, I carried on traveling the world, carried on, and I'd forgotten what initially started my love for this. Then I got a call from Corona, the beer brand, and they were like, hey, we're interested in having you part of the network. Would you like to come to an event? And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Went to the event, walked into the event, and a table away from the table I was sitting at was Sam Calder and Bryn North. So in 2 years, I went from sitting at a laptop watching their videos, hoping that one day I could be them, to them literally being my peers because of the self-belief that I had. So there's a picture with me at, like, I was fanboying so hard there. I was like, I was like, no, guys, I'm not always like this. And they were like, cool. But I was like, no, trust me. You just don't understand how much this means. You know when you meet people and they just don't get it? Like, I'm like, trust me, you are. And he was so humble. Like, when I got there, I asked Bryn North. He's actually my favorite. Sam Calder is the more popular one, but I prefer, not that he's better, I prefer Bryn North's work a bit more. So when I got there and I was like, I'd love to have a picture with you, Bryn North is like, okay, wait for Sam. And I'm like, what do you mean wait for Sam? You're the guy I want to talk to. So many times, even we have that imposter syndrome. As great and as amazing he is and the amount of fans he has, he still doesn't feel like he's worthy for someone to take a photo with him. And I was like, that is interesting, that someone that amazing doesn't see their own value, and you see the power in just believing in yourself. I'm like, I got myself all the way here. I didn't think I was that amazing, but look where we are, right? Self-belief. Hold that thought. Next slide, please. Okay. Whoa, please pause. Don't let it play it. Right. It's okay. Okay. So in that self-belief, I always believe if you learn things, like success isn't success unless you can put your friends on it. Like, it'd be amazing for you to make tons of money and be the only guy there on a yacht and everything. All your friends are like at home alone. It's like, well, what are you doing it for then? Like, what are you really doing it for? So all these lessons I learned kind of changed what my direction in my creative direction was. So from going from person who wanted to always be shooting and editing stuff myself, I met a friend of mine, Tufail Ali, who was a videographer as well. We both had similar skill sets, and we used to get hired for the same kind of jobs. So I got to a point where I was like, does it make sense for both of us to be trying to be the best videographer out there when we could just come together and figure out how we could make this bigger for both of us? So I was like, you know what? You sit back, focus on doing your video work, focus on being the best videographer you can be. Let me go focus on the business side. Because from my experience working in agencies and being a freelancer and shooting stuff as well, I got a pretty good understanding of how the industry works and how things work. But I was like, let me focus fully on that and you go do the creative stuff. We'll collaborate where we can. So this was the first project that we worked together. And he hadn't fully gotten into his self-belief. As amazing as I thought he was, he didn't realize or feel that he was that amazing. So clients called us in to shoot, this was Real Housewives of Lagos. They had a launch in Joburg and they wanted us to shoot the event because as they'd released the show, they weren't getting a lot of traction on it because of the way the world has changed. The marketing is so different that markets are so congested that you can put a video out there or show out there and it just gets lost in all the chaos. So they needed something to be like, yo, everyone watch the show, right? So we came in to shoot this. So this is the first round of the video that he gave me. And this is an exercise on self-belief. And you guys will understand it after. So I'll play this first version of the video. I'll tell you what I told him in between, and then I'll show you the final version.
You have to be able to see it, to experience it. It's been amazing. I'm so they call me king of all things fashion goddess because I'm the best at what I do. You know.
Go make sense if you don't know the journey. I did do I promise mommy. Bad man got no worries. Was like yesterday.
One words because they're gonna get to see a whole lot of different personalities coming together, trying to get along, you know, and they're gonna see drama.
My light is never gonna die. Gonna go fire any dead food. My light is forever gonna shine. Before they don't know me from my area.
Hi, my name is Chama Ikosu, aka Chama Good Hair. I'm one of the Real Housewives of Lagos. Keep watching us every Friday, only on Showman.
So this was the first version of the video that he did. So what he told me when he sent the video was, okay, I've done this video and I didn't want to go too hard in it because I wasn't sure what client was looking for, and I didn't want to put too much of myself in there in case they don't like it. So I was like, okay, you were hired for the job. So obviously client saw tons of other people, and they decided, based on your style and your characteristics, we want to hire you for the job. How many times are you called in to do something, and you know that they're only calling you because you're good enough to do this thing, but you still doubt yourself, and you never give your all. You're always worried, like, oh, what if they think this? What if they think that? People don't care. Anyway, he sent me that version of the video, and I was like, look, because you're so good, regardless of what you do, it's going to look amazing anyway. But I feel, and I know that this wasn't your best. It's okay, we can leave it like this. We can send this to client, and what's going to happen is you're going to get thrown in, and you'll get lost in the sea of other videographers. Because what you've done there, as cool as it is, anyone else could do that. There's no reason for them to be like, we want you on the next project, right? So you need to give them a reason to call you for what you do. So he said, cool, I understand. Give me an hour, okay? Then that's the next video. So that's...
You have to be in it to see it, to experience it. It's been amazing. They're gonna get to see a whole lot of different personalities coming together. They're gonna see drama. Drama, yeah.
Keep watching us every Friday, only on Showmax.
Right. So that was the second version of the video when I said, Ali, be you. And okay, you couldn't hear the audio on the first one, but from the second one, you can tell the difference, right? In terms of energy, like totally different video just based on him being like, actually, let me give it my all. This is what they hired me to do. The video, this was from the client. The video got 100,000 views in probably about an hour, and it blew up that Real Housewives of Lagos just because he believed in himself. Literally, client was like, yo, guys, this is insane. I'm like, yeah, just because he believed in himself, right? 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 Hold on to that. Next slide, please. Okay, so you need to understand, as much as that video got 100,000 views in an hour, virality does not equal success. Like, everyone wants to go viral. Like, viral hooks. How do I find a viral hook? Which hashtag should I be using? What should I be doing in the video? And it's forcing people to do more and more extreme things that are outside of their character just to go viral. And then you realize, after going viral, you can have 1 million views. It's like, okay, what has actually changed in your life, right? Because you need to understand what the purpose is and what you're actually chasing. So a lot of people that you're competing with are just going for fame. They're not trying to have impact. So the problem is you're going to get lost in a sea of people who are literally just trying to be famous, not even trying to do anything. Like, okay, so if you look at these two numbers, that's one video that has 368,000 views, insanity, and this video has 1,145 views. Gonna take a vote. In terms of overall impact, overall success, which one would you think is the better video, right? Would it be the 368? Anyone for the 368? You guys don't think that's a lot of views? Like, in terms of if someone was to say, is your social media successful? Are you doing well on social media? If you can get 368,000 views, would you count that as success, right? Yeah, we all agree. If you got 1,100 views, you'd probably think your video flopped in some sense, right? Totally, yeah. Except that video got me nothing other than the actual job it got me. These 1,000 views got me more jobs than I could even count. Why? So on that initial one, I was going by what social media says you need to do to go viral. So there were a lot of elements in there that made the video go viral. So tons of views, lots of people saw it, lots of comments and all that, and no one ever called me back after that. This video got 1,145 views. This was the first video where I decided that from what I do, I want to start to branch out and do other things other than just make pretty videos on Instagram. I was like, I need to show my personality. Going back to the same thing I said about with marketing, where you're gonna get lost in a sea of people because some people are literally doing it just to be famous. Like they don't even care for the money, they'll take free products just to be famous. For you to stand out, you need to show something that's different from other people. So all other creators were still just creating pretty videos and all that. I decided in my videos, I'm going to interact with the audience. So initially my audience were like, what are you doing? That's why only 1,000 views came out of it, right? But I was like, I'm still gonna post it anyway, and I'm gonna carry on with this style because I believe in what I want to show to the world. I don't care about the Instagram views because I understand that there's always one decision maker that needs to see your video to make a difference. There's no point getting 1 million views if the 1 million people that see it don't care about your product, right? Example, real life example. There's a brand out there that was looking to advertise their products. If you guys are familiar with Peter McKinnon, Matty Hapoya, a lot of these American YouTubers, whenever there's new products from DJI or camera brands, they give it to the YouTubers because they have enough followers, like 1 million YouTube subscribers, that if they give them a product, they review it. In the link there, you can buy the products directly from them. In South Africa, e-commerce and all that digital purchasing isn't that advanced. So brands can't just go to a South African creator, give them tons of money to push a product, because the majority of people who have big followings don't have a wide enough or big enough group of people that care enough for tech products. So this company saw an Instagram influencer, 2.4 million followers, and they said, could we do a deal with this person? They said, it doesn't work because of the 2.4 million people, the product that we have is irrelevant to them. So we can throw all our money at this guy, 2.4 million followers, and we get nothing, right? Our videos would look amazing. Everyone would be like, wow, so many views, but the people watching the videos don't care, right? So with my little video with 1,000 views, there was a very specific need that I knew there was in the market where people needed authenticity and they needed personality. So there was no point in me continuing to do videos where I'm just doing what everybody else is doing and the brand is like, well, now we have a pick of 1,000 people we can choose to do the exact same thing you do. What's so special about you? But with those 1,145 views, there was someone who saw that video from a brand who was like, well, this is different and this is something we could expand on, something else we could do other than the regular stuff. So even though it's only 1,000 views, they know that in those 1,000 views, those 1,000 people actually care for the product. It's not 368 random people that just happen to see your video, right? Next slide. So understanding that virality doesn't equal success will help you figure out how you, yeah, that spelling error, I had to leave it in there because AI is not that advanced at things, so I was like, I'll leave it there, but you'll get the point. So the big brand philosophy, virality does not equal success. So the way brands look at it, I don't know how often you've posted work on social media, a video or whatever. Wait, before we go there, how many of you feel like social media reach is not what it used to be and that you should be getting more reach on your videos? Like by show of hands, like you believe the reach is, you should be getting more reach, you feel like you should get more reach, right? Cool. Now most people don't think of their businesses like businesses because it's on Instagram, because our minds have been skewed not to understand what's going on. At the end of the day, Instagram itself, we'll use Instagram as an example, Instagram itself is a business. Everyone that is on Instagram that wants to make money off Instagram has to think like a business as well. If you're a business and you release the drink, say Coca-Cola, they released a drink today, you will see that drink everywhere. You'll see billboards, you'll see TV adverts, you'll see an Instagram post, you'll see tons of stuff, right? Because they believe in their product so much and they want to get it out there, they'll use every single avenue they can to get it out there. What do? You have a post, you think your post is amazing. You post it once on Instagram, maybe share it to your story once, then you leave it and you go, oh, the reach is bad, I'm not reaching people. It's like, okay. So before the internet existed, do you think there were no successful people, no successful businesses that ever did anything? Did they rely solely on one platform and one place to get their message out there, and then when that didn't work, they go, okay, I give up, I can't do it, I'm not a filmmaker, I can't do anything, No. Because even the big brands understand that you need to stack different places and get your product seen in different ways, right? So if you want to be an actor or a director, you can't just be on one platform and hoping that that one platform does all the work for you, because they're catering to tons of people. When people say they get bad reach, effectively they're thinking, if I made a post now, let's go the real world. I made a post, I've just asked for a billboard. You want Instagram to knock on everybody's door and be like, hey, I just made a post. Can you please go look at their post and make sure that everybody gets to that post? No, because it's a business. If you pay them, they will put your post higher up, but that doesn't guarantee success. Your product still has to be good enough, right? So most of us, if you want to be building on social media, next slide. Okay, you need to stack your business models. You need to understand what each social media platform is there for. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all those things. You need to understand what they do and what the audiences are on there, right? So you need to be building your business out in all the different ways. So if you're a director and you've posted your work, filmmaker, and you've posted your work on Instagram, great. You know that some filmmakers might see it there, great. But then you need to go from somewhere else, like Twitter, to expand on that. So maybe on Twitter, you send a tweet out to say, this is what my film is about, because people there are more likely to read. YouTube, you put a longer form version of it, put it out there. Take out an advert in the newspaper if you need to, back page to tell people about your film, right? You can't complain about one platform not giving you enough reach if you're not doing anything to build your own business. There's no big business out there that sits in one place and things don't work and they go, oh, well, that's it, right? You need to keep stacking that. So you need to look at social media, your own social medias. You need to look at what you're trying to do and understand what each platform is and where the audience is on each platform and build out your business that way. There's no easy way. I know people always come up to me and be like, oh, how did you do this thing? How are you able to get that thing? How are you able to continue doing certain things? It's because I'm building out. I don't sit in one place and just hope something works from this single place. Because we've been pushed so heavily on Instagram and how much they advertise Instagram and how much things people do on Instagram and the attention on Instagram, people get this warped view that everything has to happen on Instagram. A couple of years ago, you could go to Christopher Nolan's Instagram. He probably had 50,000 followers. Someone who doesn't know Christopher Nolan would be like, that's crazy. But in real life, crazy movies, blockbusters, billions and all that, Instagram means nothing to him. He doesn't care about Instagram. But there's another filmmaker who's so worried about Instagram going, I'm not successful because my Instagram account's not growing. Think about it. Cool. Now we're going to go back. Yeah. Go to Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull's a good example. So in terms of marketing, this is an example of how a huge brand didn't even need social media. You guys all know Red Bull. Of course you know Red Bull, but you don't know Red Bull because of how you think you know Red Bull. So what Red Bull did is there was a point when they came into the game and they realized the game is so saturated, there's no way they're cutting through. Like they have to be on a different level to get anyone's attention. So what they did is they started to fill dustbins all around Europe with empty Red Bull cans. So you'd be like, what do you mean? So what happens is someone would be walking by a dustbin anywhere and they keep seeing Red Bull cans, Red Bull cans. They're like, who's drinking Red Bull? This drink must be so amazing. If there's this much rubbish there, that many people. So emotionally, you go, I don't want to miss out on this thing. And what do people do? Now they start buying Red Bull because they think everyone else is buying Red Bull. Genius, genius, genius. Next slide. Right? So that's Red Bull understanding the attention economy. We live in the attention economy. You won't get anywhere unless you're able to gather attention. You need attention. Whether it's good or bad, you need the attention. Unfortunately, the most profitable right now is the trauma economy. So the trauma economy is the news, all those bad things you see. Whenever you react bad, like, oh, there's crime here, or there's this thing here, news always gives you the worst news, and everyone interacts with it, like, oh, this is so great. And the newspapers are like, thank you. Cash in their pockets, because now they can sell advertising. They don't care how you feel. They will give you the most extreme stories and the most bizarre things just to get you to give them attention so they can make money off it. Same as on social media. You see people doing extreme things on TikTok and things just to get attention. You're like, this is crazy. But they'll get the viral video because they are leaning into that trauma economy. You need to now take that same attention and shift it away from the negative, right? So what Red Bull did there is they saw where the attention was, so they gave you an emotion, say fear of missing out, and now you are sucked in. Okay, next one. Now, next again. Okay, so this is an expedition that I'm going on in a couple of days. What we plan to do is trek 15 days up to Everest Base Camp, and then go up to Camp 3 and find a lake or pool that is formed at 7,000 meters above sea level and swim in it. So what we're trying to do is show the effects of climate change. It's a crazy mission. So at 7,000, right now the world record is set at 6,000 meters above sea level for the highest swim. At 7,000 meters above sea level, the air is super thin. It's going to be tough. But why we're doing it is because we're taking a group of people with us from different walks of life, and it's not a political statement. We are trying to show the effects of climate change on the environment. So all of us are going on this journey, very difficult journey, but it's going to show people that with determination, and if you believe in each other and lean on each other, that you can actually make a difference, right? Now this is the best example of my most recent belief in myself, right? And this is not to brag or anything, but it's just to show you guys, like, if you just believe in yourselves, what you can do, and if you stay authentic. So I went to an art exhibition at a friend's house, and I was just there. I had no ambitions of doing anything. I was like, I just want to see the art. I'm just chilling. And I met a woman in the kitchen, and we started talking. And she was just telling me about all these different adventures and things she was doing. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting. I'd love to do an adventure one day. She was like, oh, actually know an expedition group that's going to Mount Everest, and they need someone to shoot it and do the expedition and break the world record with them. And I was like, that sounds cool. When do we have to go? They're like, oh, in a month. And I'm like, I need to be prepared in a month? Now, remember, preparation meets opportunity. So as I was going through the previous year, I went through like a big fitness transformation where I needed to align my body, mind, and spirit. And I felt like you can't be healthy unless all aspects of your life are in check. So your health is your wealth. So to be no point having tons of money and my body can't carry me anywhere, because then I can't spend the money. There's no point in having great intelligence, but I've got no social skills, so I can't even leverage how much I know or how I can do with people, right? No point having a great, strong body, but no purpose with what to do with it. I'll just be out in the streets beating people up just for fun because I got muscles. Like, it's no point. You have to align all of them, the body, mind, and spirit. So once I aligned all of that, this opportunity came up, and it literally aligned with the body, because I would have to be strong as hell to be able to do 14, 15 days up that while shooting it, and then still try and break the world record in the end. So I was like, yes, it's going to be tough, but give us a week. So then it aligned the spirit side of it, because as we're going on this journey, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be points where other people are going to be like, listen, you can do this, or some encouragement like to get me through, because there's no way you can get through it on your own. So my spirit had to be aligned to be like, whatever comes in that moment, I need to be ready for. I need to be, God will carry me through this. God would not give me this opportunity and this task if he didn't think I'd be able to do it, right? Then my spirit obviously had to be aligned as well, because a lot of times we don't realize that we ask God for things, but then we don't look at the patterns and things that God puts in our lives to give us the things we want, right? So you'll say, God, please give me a cake. Then God gives you flour. Then you go, no, I asked for a cake. Why didn't God give me a cake? Then the next week, God will give you icing. Then you go, God, I asked for cake. He didn't give me the cake. And if you stopped and you thought, you'd be like, wait, he gave me the ingredients to get me to where I'm going, but I didn't stop to just be mindful enough to be like, oh, this is what you were teaching me along the way so that I can get that thing. So many times we just expect to have the end result of everything, and we don't want to put in the work or stay mindful enough and have faith in the bigger plan and the goal, and that if we're staying focused and diligent on our path and living the right way and authentically, everything will work out, right? So I want to end it on that and say what your story is going to be, effectively. I want you guys to take away from here all the little things I gave you. I obviously can't give you everything on everything, but I've planted enough seeds for you to be able to look at certain aspects of things you're doing, to better certain things in your social media without losing your authenticity. Because now I've given you the blueprint. So you guys know how this stuff works. So there's no excuse when you get out there and then you get 100 views and be like, oh, but I thought you gave me the tips. I'm like, yes, in that 100, there's going to be one person who actually cares for what you have to say. Cool.
I haven't really heard much from your side in respect of what Neo's been talking about. But I just want to touch on one or 2 points here, if I may. One of them is you as a personal brand. And I know that Neo touched on that. But how many of you sitting here, and do we have a roving mic there ready so we can pick up on that in the audience? How many of you sitting here have a very clear idea of yourself as a personal brand? Do you know what a personal brand is? Are you familiar with the term? In other words, are you just floating around in the cyber ether, in the real world, kind of thinking, hey, maybe like I think I want to do this with my life, or you have a very clear idea of who you are, what you represent, and how you're going to take this to the world. Because the 2 things that he touched on that are really, really important, well, many, many things he touched on that are really important, but one of them is your authenticity as an individual. In other words, it's what they talk about in marketing terms, and it's a terrible term, but it's a very good term, and that is your unique value proposition. What is amazing and incredible and unique about you that you can now sell to the world? And that doesn't mean that you've got to have come from a rich background or a poor background or grown up in a highly privileged environment. It's what has gone into making you what you are today, and how you can take that and use that as a vehicle, as a tool, as a weapon to shape your future. In other words, you've got to take absolutely everything, all of the things that have informed who you are and where you are. And you could have come through the most unspeakable disasters. You could have gone through addiction. You could have gone through 1,000,001 incredibly difficult and unpleasant things. But how are you going to take what you have, where you find yourself, and like the kind of mantra for me is, the past is present in the future. If there's nothing else you take out of this, it's how do you take your past? How do you shape yourself in a way that will help you inform, influence, and actually change people's lives going forward in a positive way? Because we know how incredibly negative the internet can be, how it can build envy, ugliness, people shaming, fat shaming, thin shaming, whatever. You know, all of these things. We know what the terrible negative influences of social media are. And what we are now interested in here is how we can take this social media, this tool, this vehicle, and actually have a positive influence in people's lives. So from a personal branding point of view, shall we just ask some people to share their personal brands? Let's just put questions to the floor with respect to what Neo has presented, and then let's talk about personal brands after that. Questions to Neo.
Questions. Cool.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, there.
There we go.
Hi, Neo. So first of all, the imposter syndrome, because what I understand about social media, it's like a channel. It's TV. It needs to be consistent. You always need to put something out there. You always need to have an idea, be fresh. How do you tackle that, and how do you keep yourself consistent, especially on those days where you're like, man?
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, but I think the problem is the way people are viewing how you need to show up. For example, Sam Calder, he only releases like 1 or 2 videos a year, right? And any video he releases, he'll have 2-3 million views easy. There's other people who post every single day and they don't get that, right? So you need to understand who you are and what you're trying to put out there. Because also what you ultimately put out is the kind of work that you'll attract. So if you want to be that person that's working every single day, then that's what you're gonna get. Someone's gonna see the kind of work you do, be like, oh, I wanna hire you for more of that stuff. That's why I brought up the point with that other post of mine where I was like, there's one post where I was just making pretty videos, got tons of views, and there was another video where I was like, I wanna do what I'm doing. And because I was speaking more in that, now I have more speaking engagements and other things because I was very conscious of the thing that I'm doing. I knew that this was my target, this is the thing I'm trying to do. So you need to be very clear on why you're doing it and what you're trying to get at. Like, do you want people to consider you that person who posts every single day, but it's lower quality? So that imposter syndrome always comes back down to what am I doing it for?
Kenneth, I just think, just to add to that, the imposter syndrome is really about not being who you are. And I think that Nia's been talking from the very, very beginning, all the time, about, Jimi Hendrix had this amazing song and he said, and so castles made of sand slips into the sea eventually. And that's really what it's about. If you're trying to be what you're not, or to trying to represent something that which you aren't, you're going to actually fall foul. You're actually going to be involved in the imposter syndrome, and you're going to be selling something that's ultimately going to wash away from underneath you and leave you with very little, either for yourself personally or in terms of your contribution to the world.
I did take a question down, and the imposter syndrome topic really, touches me. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you think us young creatives can practically establish ourselves in this digital age, not just regarding followers, because as we know, as an artist, it's more so about how you put yourself out there and your branding. Like, as you say, we want to establish our personal brands. But you did say to my fellow colleague that, it's not more so about you posting every day or putting out content every day. Sometimes it's just the fact that the content you're putting out is of high quality enough to gather the right type of attention. But how does one creative who's trying to establish themselves out there find their niche? Because not every single artist out there will drop content every week or month. Some of them don't even drop in years, but still manage to pull in the right type of attention that they're looking for. You understand? So I don't know, my initial question is how does one find the comfortable space to establish themselves in this diverse market? Obviously, a smart point of view to work with is to produce content that attracts your clients and what they demand from you. But ultimately, where do you find comfort and say, okay, I'm comfortable in releasing twice every 6 months or whatever?
I think it's always going to go back to understanding why you're doing it and waiting for your audience to find you. Like you said, the market is saturated. You have to be very unique for people to want to watch your video or your content, but that's where you stay with your consistency. Be like, this is my style, this is what I want to do, and you have to keep working at it. There's no overnight. All those people that that can take time off and just have a banging video or banging film is because they've had time to cultivate their audience and their skill. Over time, take them along your journey. That's why there's this content so popular, the behind the scenes content, where people are seeing the process behind how your art is created. If they're able to connect with you more, then they'd be able to connect with your art as well. But it's only through time. Social media has made people think that there's a shortcut that you can just one day wake up and now you have 10 million followers who are gonna follow you for the rest of your life and that's it. Even if you look at social media itself, the way it's designed, people are not viewing it the right way. Instagram is not against TikTok. TikTok is a media streaming platform. It's not social media. So even if you look on TikTok, it's not optimized for people to follow you. It's optimized for people to watch a video, keep moving. On Instagram, it specifically will say follow, right? So TikTok is competing with Netflix. So you need to understand that it's the same binge watching. It's just that you're watching shorter versions of a series, but it's still your attention. Netflix, TikTok just want your attention. How they get it, they don't care. So you as the creative need to decide, am I that person that posts short form content and I want people to engage with me like that on there? Or am I long form, Netflix or YouTube? But you have to stick to your thing and write it out for as long as you can until your people find it. Or until you realize it's not for you. But it's up to you to decide that though.
So how do you separate the personal from the content creator? Like in terms of mental health, it is quite a lot, and you also receive quite a lot when you're on social media. There's different news that you'll find and all of that. So it's also not a 9 to 5 where you can just tap out. You could be working 7 days a week for hours. You don't have leave days per se. You need to determine that yourself. So how do you kind of get ahead of burnout in a way and take care of yourself, where you're like, okay, this is not me making content anymore. I'm taking care of myself.
It goes back to the same thing that I was saying about finding what your passion is. Because burnout is always, if you have a chart, where burnout happens is when your passion and the energy you have don't match. So once you have the right passion for it, your energy, people can work 6, 7 days in a row with no sleep and they don't get burnout. Someone will be in the office for an hour, be like, I'm burnt out. Like, yeah, because you're not aligned. It's not where you should be. So with that being said, you need to look at what are the things that you're passionate about. Again, the same way as I went and I said, I don't want to do video anymore because I'm not enjoying it anymore. Let me find someone else who can still get me there, and what can I contribute to that thing so that I don't feel that lack of passion for it anymore. Because now I have my passion again for video because I found other people to take care of the parts that I don't want to do. So with the social media, people always assume that just because they have social media that they understand marketing and all these things, and they try to do things from an accountant's brain trying to be a marketer on Instagram. You're like, it's not working, it's not working. I hate this business. And it's like, yes, because you're an accountant, you're not a marketer. Find someone who understands what they're doing or a friend who can help you out, and that'll alleviate a lot of that stuff. Too many times we're trying to do more than we are capable of doing.
My name's Latita.
Hi.
Hello. So I wanted to ask, like, for me, being in social media, like, really touches my mind in a very harsh way. I've been on and off social media for like 5 years because sometimes I just can't handle being on social media 24/7, you know? So for me, I'm kind of confused, and I mean this with all the love and respect in my heart. Do you treat Instagram and social media as your business or like your lifestyle?
It's a good question, because that's the whole point why I say people are so fixated on Instagram so much, of being like, but Instagram's not the end all and be all. If you want to do other things, like I said, Christopher Nolan barely had Instagram followers, but he's making movies. He doesn't care about social media. For me, specifically for what I'm trying to do, social media works, because I understand how marketing works and where the attention is. And I'm like, well, that's where I can get the most attention for the specific thing I want to do. If I was a painter and I was trying to sell physical canvases, I'd be better suited standing in Camps Bay than I would be on Instagram. That's as simple as it is. So it's up to you to decide how you're using it and what it's doing for you. So if you don't feel comfortable on it, leave it. Find another way to get to your audience. Go to networking events, like there's so many other avenues, but people are so stuck on Instagram, social media. There's so much more to it. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that each of you have a contribution to make. And each of you have a unique contribution to make, because nobody else can make the contribution you can make, because nobody else has got to where you've got in the way you've got there. And we've got to really value ourselves. We really, really do. We have to actually value ourselves regardless of the challenges that we've been through to get to where we've got. Often as a consequence of the challenges we've been through. The more challenges you've faced, probably the stronger character you have, If you were just marching around in cream for your entire life, you'd just be a pretty wet blanket, So I'm just saying, people who've had huge challenges in their lives are often a lot more interesting and have a hang of a lot more to offer to the world.
For someone that have not received any collaboration emails from brands, how would you approach a brand, and also how would you identify which brand aligns with you?
Good question, but already on that, we view it completely differently. I don't go to brands looking for the work. I understand that there's a huge market for people doing a very specific thing that I do. So what I do is I make sure my work is so good and that I have enough of what I know the brand is looking for. Because ultimately, all of them are businesses. So they're like, who's got the most eyeballs? So like, I think it was David, he mentioned that even with actors now, when they go to castings, it's not so much about who's the most talented one, it's who's got more Instagram followers. Because they know once that movie's released, who's going to get us the most attention for people to watch that movie. They don't really care. Whether you're a good or bad actor is not our problem. If people are watching it, we make our money. So my whole thing is I always make sure that I'm aligned with what I am doing as I'm going along. If I have enough of the quality and the attention of the people that the brand cares about, they'll come to you. It's not about me going, okay, what do they want? Let me do that thing they want, because that's how you lose yourself. Because then now you're like, oh, I'm trying to do that thing. Then eventually they'll hire you, but then they'll hire you for just one job and then they won't call you again because now they're like, oh, we know 900 other people who can do that exact same thing. There's nothing unique about you that we hired you for. So that's the approach. People just need to think, stay on your path, do what you need to do and let them come on board. Don't shift trying to find what their target is. Stay true to you. Yeah. It's up to you. Like there's a specific brand and you're like, I know I want to be the top makeup person. I want their attention. Sure, tag them in it, but that shouldn't be your goal to be like, I'm trying to make sure my content looks good for what they are trying to do if it's not true to you. So if they're doing a climate thing or whatever, you're like, oh, I'm down with climate stuff. Sure, I'll collaborate with you guys and do this because it aligns with what I'm trying to do. But I'm not going to go this way because they say, oh, here's a big check. You'll be like, okay, that's what I'm going to do now. Because when the real opportunity, the one that really matters to you comes along, you're not going to be in that position now to accept it. Because now you've shifted. Now you look at other people, be like, why are they being chosen to do this work? It's like, but they stayed where they were. They stayed true to what they were doing. And you decided to try and follow trends and different things. So, yeah.
Be true to yourself.
Do you think we're robbing the world by not sharing our stories? The world and ourselves, both.
Yeah, 100%. To the same thing that even if you're only getting 100 views on a video, if one person gets the message and does something good in the world, that's all you need. It's all about the little ripples that you create. Like the ripples, people only see the ripple as far as the water can literally go, but your ripple goes so much further. There's something you say or do today that'll stick in someone's mind or only click in like 10 years. So even if you think no one cares about this thing, but you just decided today, I'm going to share a selfie because the sun is great. Like, everyone have a good day. There might be someone who was depressed that day that saw that and they were like, great. But you're like, oh, only 1,000 likes. They're like, yeah, but you just changed someone's life. The problem is because social media has made people look at big numbers and like millions and everything, you don't feel like you're making an impact unless you're going viral. But it's like you don't need to go viral to make an impact. You only need to impact one person to make a change.